Chico's gonna give you what? Rev is gonna give you what? Ben is gonna give you what? All three are gonna give you the Big D. Chico's gonna give you what? Rev is gonna give you what? Ben is gonna give you what? All three are gonna give you the Big D. Chico, Rev, and Ben, yep, they're at it again. Breaking down the team, putting stats up in your head. Nothing left unsaid, they're leaving it all on the field. Just like the favorite team, raising 2 cups and we'll chill. The knowledge isn't real for a trio so true to representing the gray, red, white, and blue. And you love them too, that you came to not, so just one time let me hear Dallas till I die. Chico's gonna give you what? Rev is gonna give you what? Ben is gonna give you what? All three are gonna give you the Big D. Chico's gonna give you what? Rev is gonna give you what? Ben is gonna give you what? All three are gonna give you the Big D. Soccer podcast?
Good evening and welcome to Big D After Dark, your live video and audio podcast breaking down FC Dallas news, rumors, results, questions, and of course a podcast where we take your comments and questions live. So hit us up in the live stream chat, even though Facebook is down or something's wrong with Facebook, whatever. We're here to talk about a tough week where 2 home games for FC Dallas, only 1 point from the 2 matches. Not good enough for playoffs. Playoff window is pretty much over, not mathematically eliminated yet, but that may be just a matter of days. We have a lot to talk about, including coaching, search, updates, season tickets, and more. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to Big D After Dark. Welcome to Big D After Dark, everyone. Except for those of you on Facebook land, the thing said Facebook is still not working right, so you may not be seeing the show there. But hey, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Twitch, or whatever other way, hello, welcome to the show. We're going to talk about FC Dallas news. We're going to take your comments and questions live, and we really want your feedback this evening as we talk about season tickets and some other things and your thoughts on where the club is. Of course, I'm Nathan J. Hill. You can follow me at Nathan J. Hill on Twitter. There in the middle is Jose Carmona at El Chico Carmona. All right. And then there on the end is our buddy Tommy LaBouffe at Tom_FC Dallas. And glad to have Jose and Tom with us tonight as we get into it. Let's just get right to the result from this past week. 1 point at home. Playoffs?
Funny guy.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Brutal results, my man. Brutal results. I mean, pretty much, if Ferruzzi was looking to impress, he's done the opposite.
Yeah. I mean,
what do you think, Tommy?
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that actually. In the game, one thing I found odd is that it was 0-0, and we brought on Manjoma before we brought Sean on, and to me that was telling me that we're really looking at next year. I mean, because Manjoma, he came in the game and got beat right off the bat, and he just doesn't look like that was your number 1 or 2 sub. So it tells me that Marco was looking for next year. Can this guy play next year? That's the way I looked at it.
Absolutely agree. And I don't know if I said it on our last podcast, but I know I've talked about it, is, let's face it, the writing's on the wall. Yes, FC Dallas is not officially eliminated, but they pretty much are. So they should play the young players. And that's what we saw this last match.
Absolutely. That's what I think. Yeah.
Is you might as well. I mean, you need to find out. Let's say you're going to make drastic changes in the offseason. And drastic, I mean, I'm not saying they're going to purge the roster, but you need to find out which of your young players you think will be able to step up if you're going to, let go of somebody ahead of them. like say Acosta or Ricarte, then you need to be 100% sure that you already have players that you think will make a leap next year. So you need to play them this year. You need to play Munjoma to find out if Tuamasi or Munjoma are the answers at right back. Otherwise, you need to bring somebody else in. So
and furthermore, I'd say that I think that this even solidified in my head that the problems this year is not necessarily the coach. We can all agree that there's some things that Lucci could have done better, but you look at my girlfriend, this was the first time she went to the game this year. She's like, hey, what happened to FC Dallas? Number 10 got the ball. He was too slow. You know, she's an amateur, and she got it point head on. And so if you look at the game, we didn't have many shots on goal. We had, 4 shots on goal. We were outshot.
Pretty pathetic for a home match, you know.
And what we were told is that Marco's a great defensive guy. Yeah, Marco did a great job, but who saved us? It was Felipe. If that's his plan, I don't think it was. The bottom line, I think, is the roster. I think that this roster, you're going to have a top-notch coach who gets everything right, the lottery, and maybe you get a tie and a win here and there. But the bottom line is the roster. You can't change my mind anyway. I'm stuck on that. It's not the coaching. It's the roster. Yeah, one special player, it would make the difference in the world. We don't even have one special player.
And I agree with that.
Tommy, Todd just said, thanks for watching, Todd. And he said, she just disappointed Lucci left because he's hot. He's hot AF.
She was there with the binoculars looking for, hey, where's Lucci?
Yeah.
Lucci was a good-looking coach. But, hey, look, I'm really disappointed by the Sporting Kansas City game. I'm disappointed that Lucci, that was at least one thing he had going in his favor. He had a good run against Kansas City, but then that kind of ended. And then, of course, just not a good match, really, at all. But, it was nice to see in the draw at home against Minnesota. Now, I thought Minnesota was in a stronger position than they actually are. I didn't realize they were in 7th. But because they're a decent team and have collected some talent, they've done a bit better job in the transfer market, but are still up and down as a team. But it was nice to see. So it was nice to see Hedges and Martinez, which is what we thought would be our number 1 and 2 option, kind of center back on the back line. And Hollingshead back there, and he almost had a goal, although I think it was the right call.
Yeah, VAR just doesn't like
us.
Yeah, it's the rules. I think it's disappointing. But Tomasi didn't do terrible either. I think he's making a case that he has some kind of future with FC Dallas. I hope he's not the starter at that position, but he shows some depth there and some energy. But there were some positive things, especially in the first half. FC Dallas looked better, but then Minnesota came out with adjustments, and Marco didn't have any adjustments. And so the attack for FC Dallas got really fizzled. And, we're not for Felipe. And, that's my next kind of point, too, I think, is he made the bench the team of the week for Major League Soccer. He had a really great performance, some great shot stopping that we hadn't seen from him yet. So that at least gives us something to consider about his loan deal and whether they buy him. But I'm still not sold on the price for him at this point.
No, I'm not sold on Felipe.
It probably means that we'll see him kind of close out the season, for the most part, getting a lot of minutes.
I think they're trying to find out if he's worth, it's a $2 million buyout, which it's a lot. By MLS standards, it's a lot. But if FC Dallas is convinced that he's the guy for the future, let's not forget that FC Dallas lost their future guy.
Right, under most
Jesse,
drama.
And now I need to find out if this guy is worth the hype. I want to say he's not, but his last performance gave us hope that he's actually improving, and he's extremely green, really, by goalkeeper standards. So, I think my thing is, he's a U22, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Or is he out of that? If he's a U22, then Dallas could actually buy him. But do you want a goalkeeper that's probably your number 2 goalkeeper taking up a U22 spot? I don't think so. So just the price and the position he would take, that seems like awful lot for a goalkeeper, in all honesty, especially when you have a promising young goalkeeper in the pipeline coming up, which of course there's a rumored homegrown signing coming up and possibility of that being the case.
Yeah,
I would say if that happens, if Carrera is signed as homegrown, I think that signals Felipe is gone, in all honesty.
Well, and I think Zobek is probably gone too. I think his contract comes up, although, maybe he's fine there, but
I would say Zobek is only gone because you have with North Texas, Shuttler and Sanchez, right?
right.
So you already have a veteran from within the academy that has MLS experience, has La Liga experience. He'd be a perfect third
Right.
keeper, in all honesty, or a perfect backup if you wanted to go that way while you're bringing up a young player. So I think that's what your decision is. You're going to have the reserve team next year in the North Texas in the reserve league. You're probably going to want your third keeper starting for them. So I think you're right. I think the number crunch indicates that he's gone, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know his contract. I don't know if he's up or not.
I mean, some other takeaways from this match that give me a little hope. I just really like Brandon Cervania. I think when he's on the field, he has an ability to find space and be creative and push to attack, and be a decent presence defensively. So he's that nice mix. He's that box to box kind of guy maybe you're looking for. But it's figuring out, is he the answer there? Is he just has such energy that when he made a difference in the first half was really great. Now he faded in the second half. But can we find that player to pair with him? What's going to be the right mix of guys? So I liked some of the information that comes out of a game like this, which, if we're thinking about next season and some possibilities, but it's hard.
With Cervania, I'd like to see him get a little bit more body, muscle. He seems like he is still got the teenager body, and I think he gets pushed around a little bit, but I think he had a shot that was pretty good at the game Saturday night. I don't know that I look at Cervania as a starter yet. He did start. We got a 1-1 tie, but I just don't feel like this is the team that. I don't know if I want him starting to win an MLS Cup. I don't know that he's that guy yet. Still a teenager.
But I think with Cervania and Cirio getting extended play, they're young enough and affordable enough that you need to decide if they're going to be your main backups.
I can agree with that right now.
And I think that is the case. I think you can make an honest case for both of them, coming back as being either, spot starters and backups with, let's face it, they're young. So they're only going to improve. You're hoping that they can provide that, and maybe they make a leap and grab one of those starting spots. But,
So I would just finally like to say is that when it comes to the homegrown and the teenagers, I wish FC Dallas would use them as a backup and play them in the appropriate times where, if we got a lead, we bring them on and we get the minutes there, but not rely on them to start as the starting lineup to win a cup, because I don't think that you can win with kids. I just don't think in the long run.
I think we saw that early in the year with Dallas basically leaning on their veterans and their new signings, and that didn't go so well. And, the kids basically forced their way into the line. And I think that's where we are is because the players you thought would be better than your kids are not. So Lucci basically went to his safe zone, his safe place. And the safe place is he knew what he had with his academy kids.
And furthermore, I'd say if you bring in a vet who can't run, because I think we have two of them that are less a step, like our center, I call him Q, number 5. I can't never say his name. Quignon. Very slow on the field. He looks like an old man. And then the other one would be Jaro. Jaro's definitely lost a step. and we're paying him like a starter money, like superstar money. You can't bring in those kind of people. I don't want to see those people. I don't want to see over the hill people playing soccer. And even Ricarte, he looks so slow on the field. He's not a 10, and Marco put him as a 10, and that didn't work out. More than one occasion, he's trying to make a pass. He's just too slow.
He's been a 10 in the past, but for some reason, it just hasn't worked.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that comes to this late in the season. You should have played him there earlier in the season. You should have given him that playing time, but he hasn't been given that time. So now it's like, hey, I know you've been playing an 8 or a 6 most of the year. Now we want you to go play a 10. Players need to basically feel comfortable and feel, get into form, and I don't think Ricarte. I think you're seeing a player that's completely out of form.
The biggest question I have too is why do we never see Paxton in the middle? It seems like Paxton has the ball skills to be a 10 playmaker, but we always play him on the wing.
So I think that this is basically them just protecting him. They're like, hey, we'd like to play him in the middle, but we're not 100%. He can take the kind of beating he's going to take at that spot. And so they're playing him in the wing. I think it's just to bring him back. I think this is a lost year for him. This is like when Jesus had the previous season where he disappeared. And I'm okay with that. I want to say that I remember from the last match that he disappeared, in all honesty. I didn't even realize he was on the field.
Yeah.
That's bad to say about him. But let's face it, he's not playing in his optimal position. And like I said, I think he's just out there. He's a player that you're saying, okay, we're just going to have to eat this year with him and hope that, and hopefully next year with a full preseason, he comes on strong.
Jose, I agree with you. I think that, we don't have all the information about Paxton, but we know that he's been injured. And, I've been complaining about the minutes, but I think even Ryan Hollins has said he's trying to come back. And we don't know all the information, but apparently there is something going on with him coming back.
It reminds me, his play and the playing time, what they're doing, reminds me of when Diaz got injured.
Yeah.
And they had the kitty gloves with him. And I think that's exactly what you're seeing. When they're saying kitty gloves, it's like, hey, kitty gloves for the entire season. And that's what you're seeing.
Yeah, I think it does say something to the roster construction when you have to turn to your youngsters for a spark, but also when your youngsters turn out to be sometimes the more dynamic, athletic, creative players at your disposal. And I think that just speaks to the lack of investment on this roster, the lack of scouting, and not that the scouting has been all bad. I think Hyder O'Brien has certainly turned his fortunes around and has earned a spot on this roster going forward. And I think he can probably get better next season. He's adjusted. It seems like he's finally adjusted in some ways, but we're still waiting to see that from some of these other guys. And there's just guys like Brian Acosta who has quality. We know he has quality. I mean, but it just has never figured it out.
I'm glad you bring that up because this offseason is going to be a massive offseason for Sonata, in all honesty. I know that a lot of fans are basically bad-mouthing him on social media, and they're putting the blame on him as much as Lucci or Dan. And I actually don't agree with any of that criticism.
Really?
In all honesty. I disagree with all the criticism that Sonata is getting. I know Tommy has issues with Sonata.
Well, yeah. I mean, Ki Young come in. I mean, he's not done the job. Hara has not done the job. We brought in Vargas. I know he was a project. He's not even making the 18. And I mean, the list goes on. We brought in Sean. Sean was a late sub. I mean, like, we're not signing players that are making a difference. We're signing players apparently that are affordable and they look good on paper, but they're not making a difference on this roster. And if anyone is to blame, it's not Lucci. In my opinion, it's the technical director and the owner for pulling the strings and selling the good players and not bringing quality talent in.
And I'm glad you said it that way, and I'm glad you said that because I'll tell you right now, everyone knows Hara was not the DT's selection. That was Dan all the way. So you cannot pin that on Sonata.
I don't know the information of who signed off on it, but
No, that Dan has pretty much said that he's wanted him since he put a brace on FC Dallas in CONCACAF. So I mean, Dan's pretty much said. So as far as if you're working for the owner and the owner says go get that man.
Oh yeah. And you know what? And if that's the case, then they may even go further more than who's starting the lineup. Dan may be calling the shots.
All right, let's get. We got a lot of good comments coming. This is good. This is good.
I got more. I'm not done. I just want to.
I know. All right, so Ben, our buddy Ben says over and under 12 players turnover this offseason. Could we see as many as 12 or more released from the roster?
Say over.
Over. Okay.
I don't know that many. No, I definitely think there's at least 5 or 6 or 7 for sure.
Yeah.
Over, and I'll tell you why over. You can discontinue player contracts. Certain players' contracts are going to finish. Guys like Felipe, that's on loan, for example, and then you've got other players who Vargas is also on loan. By the way, he's not a person that's been bought. And then you also have contract extensions that don't need to be picked up, of course. But you also have the expansion this offseason coming up, so you can expose players to that. So I'm thinking, and this is me, because you want to bring in a new manager and you want to give him the best chance. You're gonna have to, and I'm not saying you're gonna cut significant weight, but you're gonna have to cut some weight and let him bring in some of his players. You're going to have to make room for some of the homegrowns that you're probably going to sign. You got like 4 or 5 homegrowns that are on the pipeline that could be signed. That's a lot. You're talking Carrera, you're talking, is it Corcoran?
Corcoran, right? I keep talking about that kid, yeah.
Yeah, Corcoran. You've got the Hernandez kid. You got Jesus' brother. I mean, you've got like 5-6 kids that
could be in the mix, right?
Could be signed in the next year, I would say. So,
well, what I was going to say, Jose, is that I don't agree. I mean, don't disagree that we have that many players that need to go. But as we've seen with FC Dallas, they don't sign players in a hurry. You know, when we let players go, we wait till mid-season, where the season's almost over, to bring in players.
Yes.
So I don't think they have their ducks in a row to bring anyone in. So I think they're going to.
But
yeah, we're going to keep players until for a while because they have no one else.
I was done defending Sonata, by the way.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to point out that Acosta is also not a Sonata guy. Your 2 DPs, the only 2 TPs on your roster, your DT had nothing to do with those guys. So I like to see, I'm sorry, but I like to see Haragon, I like to see Acosta gone, and I like to see Sonata with the money we know they're getting. I want to see who he's going to bring. You know he's going to bring in the manager. You know he's going to bring in the DPs. And you can get up to 3 U22s. And of those, I think we only have 1 spot taken, and that's Shun. And I'm pretty happy with Shun. You know, even though, you know, they're playing him in and out, his playtime has been inconsistent. But I like what I've seen. The kid's 20 years old. You know?
Yeah, Steve Davis on the game cast said, you know, he doesn't have the body yet. It seems like he looks like a little kid. So I think that has a lot to do with it.
Absolutely, he needs to hit the weights and whatnot. But that might just be his natural body. You know, he may not get bigger. But in all honesty, I'm just saying, Sonata has 3 DP spots to fill, and I think if you don't fill one of those, you can then get the 3 U22s. Of all that, he's got his hand on one of those. And that's Shun. So I like to see what he does this offseason. Get rid of Hara, get rid of Costa, sign a couple more U22 kids.
Ricarte.
Manager. So yeah, I think this is the offseason where we find out what Sonata's made of, because they can't claim poverty. They got the sales. And don't forget sales. I mean, you know, we could lose Pepi, we could lose Chewy, we could lose, you know, who's to say someone isn't going to try to buy Cervania or Cerrillo or any of these other age homegrowns?
Well, but remember, Dan Hunt said that Hara is banging in goals. So but all right, we'll come back. But Todd says, to keep the Sonata chat going, our buddy Todd Chatterley, thanks Todd. Zanata was brought in to maximize transfers out. He's done a fantastic
which he's
job.
done a fabulous job of. But like I said,
But who said he was brought in to do that? Who confirmed that?
I believe he was done that.
That's just like a.
But that's what he was known for in Grêmio. He was known as a seller. He's the guy who sold what's his name? Starts with an N that plays in the big leagues. Neymar, I believe that was his guy. So
he brought in Thiago Santos, and I love the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one guy I agree, and he was definitely involved in the trade.
In MLS, your DPs determine whether you're a winning team or not. And right now, our DPs aren't good enough. And I like to see what Sonata does about that. Like I said, I don't think Acosta or Hara are his guys. Lucci was not his guy.
So, if I may, we're getting mixed signals on Pepi and his future. Ajax is apparently looking at Pepi. If you don't mind me taking.
No, great. Keep it going.
But the latest comment I heard is that they want him sticking around. So, where do y'all think FC Dallas really lies on Pepi?
I'm going to write an article about this because I think the next head coach is key to that. Now, granted, Pepi's under contract, so also, some legal realities. And if FC Dallas decides to turn down any offers, Pepi will stay. It's not like he's going to – I don't think he's the kind of guy that would not show up to practice or something, But I think they need the right kind of coach to come in and say, look, we want you to stick around at least another year. Work with this guy. This guy has this amount of experience. Look at where he's played. He's going to help you even be better and more prepared for that next opportunity that comes. And you're going to get playing. You're going to be the guy, But if they just settle for whoever as coach, maybe Pepi's still here. But I think Pepi's going to hear some of those offers coming along, and he's going to be like, "Nah, I'll take this." Especially Ajax, it'd be a great opportunity for him.
Let me raise you the red flags. All right, the red flags that says Pepi is gone.
And I'll say he's going to stay here, but go ahead.
So Pepi just signed a 5-year contract. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about some notable homegrowns that signed 5-year contracts. Reggie Cannon signed a 5-year contract. Brian Reynolds signed a 5-year contract. It's done to maximize what you can ask for them because you're saying, look, we've invested 5 years. So if you believe this kid is worth $2 million, then we want that times 5. Because you're stealing from us our future. We've committed to this player, and he's committed to us for the next 5 years. You can't just come in here and say, well, he's valued at $3 million. We want to give you $3 million. No, he's not. He's worth 5 years to us, so we want $15 million before we'll even start listening to you. All right, and of course, you're absolutely going to say you want him here in the future because if you say we want to sell him, then guess what? Your offers, they go low. Teams will not pay top money for someone they think you're trying to offload. They only pay top money for someone they feel you're unwilling to get rid of. And they believe you're under their, they believe they can get at a cheaper value now than, say, a year or two from now. So, yeah, I think you'll see some offers start coming in. And I think it'll be, Brian Reynolds' money initially. But if you think Ajax can come in and say, we'll give you $8 million for him, don't think Bayern can't just laugh at that and say, we got 10. And next thing you know, you've got a bidding war. And that's exactly what Dallas wants. Dallas can, and don't be fooled. We're a selling club.
A deal may get done, but I don't think we're going to see Pepi leave. And here's why. Pending World Cup's coming up. And what happened in Honduras? A very fit and ready to play Pepi went in and made a difference in the, international stage. And I think the worst thing that Pepi can do is go to a club and not play. And we see Reynolds not playing. And we know that if he stays here, he's going to play and get better. And he's going to be in that World Cup fit.
And I'll have you know that Reynolds and Cannon, who both aren't playing, that was stuff that's completely out of their control. Reynolds, the manager that wanted Reynolds, is no longer there, and then the guy they brought in has a history of not really playing young players. And then Cannon, I think it's Portugal, and I think there's some shenanigans there going on. I don't think they can afford to pay him. That's my honest opinion. I don't think they can afford to pay him, and I don't think he's injured. I think he's stuck there. I don't think they're going to play him at all.
Well, something happened to Reggie. He didn't even make the U.S. World Cup, the U.S. roster.
Well,
I think he was hurt a little bit.
They're saying he's hurt, but at the same time, he hasn't been playing, so he's out of form, and these are important games. You can't bring in a player like that. So everyone understands his situation is bad, and all he can do is wait till the transfer window. I don't think he plays for Boa Vista until the transfer window rolls around.
Yeah, I just think we might see a sell where he's sold, but then he's loaned back to FC Dallas until World Cup, just to get the playing minutes and be ready to go.
Portugal is not. They're the last player that's connections to the Dallas-Fort Worth area that was in Portugal was Keaton Parks, and Keaton Parks had to take his team to court. So I
don't see that happening with Pepi though.
So they would release him of his contract because they were not letting him practice and they were not playing him, and he wasn't allowed because he was under contract. He couldn't join another team. So it took him 6 months of legal battles to get out of his contract in Portugal, and now he's in MLS. And I'm worried. I'm not saying it's true, but I'm worried that that's what Cannon may have to do.
Cannon. But with Pepi, I think his moves are going to be based on what Burkhalter wants him to do in USA and also FC Dallas together, working together for the World Cup. I think they're in cahoots.
I think Pepi, because of the amount of money that a team's going to pay for him, it's going to have to be someone that, with that kind of investment, is going to have to play him, or if not play him, loan him to a place where he will play.
Well, Ben says my hope is Pepi is sold with a loan back for next year, which would be a fine kind of threading the needle there. And he needs minutes. He needs to be.
I think if you get a loan back like that, it won't be for a full year. I think it'll be
till summer.
They're gonna want him to join them during their preseason, so he can get integrated. And I'll have you know that a loan back for the entire year is ideal for U.S. men's national team, because if that doesn't happen, let's say he gets transferred this upcoming window, or he only gets loaned back for half a season, that's going to hurt the U.S. men's national team, because now you got your top striker trying to integrate into a European team, and they don't like to take those players away from those clubs. Even if it's an international window, I know that's a big deal. Some players not getting called up. They're like, oh, it's the international window. If it's a young player, the coach, the U.S. manager is not going to pull him away from that club, because they're saying, hey, this guy's 18, 19, 20 years old, and he just earned a starting job in Europe. Yes, it's international break, but we need those players practicing with their club so they can solidify their starting position there. Because in Europe, unlike here, you don't practice. Whoever practices is going to take your job.
Had another comment here from Michael Crossman. Thanks for watching and joining us, Michael. If Pepi stays and plays for FC Dallas and then plays well in the World Cup, his value will skyrocket.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's a good point.
That's something that bidding teams have to take into account. And you better believe Dent Hunt and Sonata are, they're ringing that bell and saying, look, this upcoming window right now, this October matches, this is basically a huge display, display for Pepi. It's a showcase.
Yeah.
Pepi was a beast in Honduras. I mean, it wasn't just the goal that he scored. He was taking the ball away. He was assisting. He was being very involved. I mean, he was really.
And you can see it.
He was a one-man press in the first half.
I mean, you can see it for FC Dallas games. I mean, he is so active. He's so active in ways that Haro never was. And he's frustrated when he doesn't get the ball, when he doesn't get the pass. He's frustrated when his shot doesn't go right. I mean, the kid is hungry, and he's just in form. And it's disappointment that, he scored the goal. Maybe he's offside against Kansas City.
The scary thing is he's still just a kid.
I know, and even the goal he scored against Kansas City, it was just just
No, I'm not saying
clutch.
he didn't earn it. I'm just saying the scary thing for opponents is that Pepe's still growing. He's still learning. Right now, everything he's doing it based off instinct and talent. He hasn't even grown into his body yet. He's still gaining experience. The sky's the limit for him. And yeah, I mean,
All right, two more comments, and then we got to move on.
Okay.
Our buddy Hoach there says, if you are Pepi, do you risk the Hunts and Zanota getting this offseason right? You could have a slump paired with poor reinforcements that hurt your value as well. And yeah, it's always a risk. And of course, knock on wood, I don't have any wood here, but Pepi could get hurt. I mean, injuries happen. I mean, that's why nothing is guaranteed. And I think that's, for me, is why, like, there is an offer that the Hunts and Pepi and his agent won't be able to say no to. There are offers that they will feel like this just isn't, where we, and you can look at, there's some writing about Ajax's situation. It's like they have a great striker right now. Or Bayern, for example, they have a great striker right now. Pepi could go there, work, but it might be a year or two before he really breaks in. And he's young, so that's okay.
But if you're someone like Bayern, you got Lewandowski as your main guy. Wouldn't you like to bring in a teenager and make him understudy for like the next 3 years and say, hey,
sure. But if the World Cup's coming up, I don't want to be sitting on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
I agree.
These are the complicated.
It's got a way to scale.
My point is, a team like Bayern would be a team that would buy him and loan him. In all honesty, there's some teams that will claim he's going to start for them. They'll pay top dollar, but they'll be just as happy to loan him out for a year or two till he, comes up.
I keep thinking about, what if Reynolds had stayed? Man, he could be making those runs down the line and throwing him into Pepi. I mean, that would be great.
Dallas should loan him back. Dallas should get.
Oh my
gosh. He's
gosh.
going to loan out and win, or Dallas should say, "Hey, come back and play for us for a year."
You want to
all right, look,
give him someone?
We got to move on. We got some other things now. This is why I especially wanted our buddy Tommy on the show, and I'm going to show a couple images here. They won't be able to see, but of course, one is from supporters on in Frisco on Saturday, which was. Hunts out. Invest in us. Hunts out. Continued. Voicing from the fans of that just the lack of support from the front office of supporters groups, creating an atmosphere that makes soccer fun in Frisco. And of course, our buddy Tommy tweeted this today, and I've got the screenshot up. No way I'm giving $1,090 to FC Dallas Club for 3 season tickets only to watch the owner sell the best players before and mid-season. Sign young and cheap talent from other countries. Tell fans that he's committed to winning. 10-year season ticket holder, Dan Hunt. Yep. You blew it. So Tommy, you're just moving down to 1 seat as of now, correct?
That's correct. Yes, I did go down to 1 seat, and I'm going to stay with 1 seat, but I'm not giving $1,000 to the club this year. And I feel slighted. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I speak the truth. I mean, it's the truth. It is the truth. No one else can change my mind. I've been to watching all these games. I've seen the transfers happen week before. I've seen them sign players late in the season, and the whole thing. It doesn't look like trying to win. It looks like a developing club, and that's the truth. I'm not the only one. There's other fans that have done that.
I'm curious if any of you who are watching, if you are season ticket holders. Now, I don't live in the Dallas area, and neither does Jose, so we don't have that option. But are you changing your plan? Are you keeping it the same? I'm curious if anyone else is making these choices. It is tough. It is tough, especially when you go back to that press conference after Lucci was fired, and to hear Dan Hunt he basically looked like some of these politicians who go like, hey, everything's fine. We're scoring goals. We got to make a few tweaks. And of course, it's got to irk Dan Hunt that the results in the field have been just even worse since Lucci was fired. Maybe slightly better defensively at best, but
I can't honestly say that wouldn't happen with Lucci at the helm just because players are getting healthy and coming back. You know, I think you know, you got Hedges back, you got Martinez back, you got Hollingshead back. I'm sorry, you can't tell me that Lucci couldn't have gotten that same results with a healthy backline.
Yeah, I would say this. You know, I didn't think Lucci was going to get fired until the season was over. It just seemed like that was the right thing to do. But you know what happened a week later? I got an email from the ticket rep. You got to renew your tickets. So it was a move, in my opinion. If I read between the lines, 1 week, hey, we're really trying to make the playoffs. We're going to put Marco in, We're going to make the playoffs. And then a week later, you get an email. You got 2 weeks to renew your tickets. You know, it was a move to sell tickets. Or keep
I agree.
That's what it was.
I said that in the podcast that I believed it was basically Dan Hunt and Clark basically trying to make sure that they didn't lose the crowds and showing that they were trying to do something about turning the Team Fortress around. It was strictly a sell tickets move.
Yeah, the press conference was laughable.
Yeah, and it's completely backfired on them. You know, you know, they lost their manager, a very likable manager, by the way, and all of a sudden, you know, you're seeing the attendance is dropping. It's, you know, it's exactly what you expect from a team that looks like a bottom feeder, and not a team, you know, that's actually hunting for a playoff spot.
Well, Ben Funch says I was a season ticket holder, stopped being one 3 seasons ago, and Christian Lozano, thanks Christian for watching and for joining us, canceled my season tickets 2 seasons ago due to the same reasons that we're still talking about all this time later. Yeah, you know, it's
3 years, 2
tough.
years, 1 year. So,
you know, I don't take any pleasure for this. I mean, I'm a big soccer fan, and I'm 20 minutes from the stadium. The last thing I want is to have a team that's not competitive and doing what they're doing. I'm very sad about this. I like going to the games and bringing people and showing them the beautiful game, but it's not something that taking any joy into. This is hurt me. I mean, it's you know, I've wasted my money.
And Dallas has those deals often where they, you know, two tickets for a nice price, you know, that you can watch a lot of matches for pretty inexpensively if you just forego if you don't need the guaranteed seat, you're willing to sit on the east side or whatever. But hey, by the way, I missed it. I missed a comment here. I just thought was fun from our buddy Hoach there. It says, we just need to reinvest in cute players to get the soccer moms back into the season ticket buying spirit. Yeah. Like Michelle. We can tell you a Big D soccer story about Michelle at some point.
Hey, there's your next.
She sits in my section. She's just a few rows in front of me. I'm very sorry to see her go. That's the one passionate woman who just walked away.
Oh, I think we're talking about somebody else.
Oh, okay.
So we had a contributor with Big D Soccer years ago. Who? But Michelle, now the coach for North Texas Soccer and the left-footed Brazilian wonder, you know, who played for FC Dallas as a left back. He, Michel, maybe I should say his name correct, but he evidently ended up texting one of our supporters a picture of his chest, you know, one evening. It's just joyful, like pulled up his shirt and was like, "Hey, you know, I'm game." So yeah, we've had some, you know, so anyway, he was beloved by the fans, perhaps, or maybe not. Yeah.
Maybe it was Melanie, but she sits in my section. She's written a lot of articles and podcasts.
Yes.
Very, very passionate about FC Dallas.
I remember Melanie. Yeah.
Posted it. She's not doing it and couldn't justify
I heard about that too.
It's sad. I mean, I don't like it.
Yeah, it hurts, but you know, like I said, that's why I'm saying this is a very, very important offseason for Sonoda and for the Hunts, because they got to get the managerial position right. And mind you, I don't want a prolonged hunt. They need to bring that manager. They need to, when the season's over, it needs to be within weeks, because that manager has to prepare for the draft, for the preseason. There's so much work to do that we can't hire a manager 2 weeks before the season starts and say, okay, this is the guy.
Yeah.
And furthermore, I think they need to solidify what the plan is going to be to stay competitive. You can't just sell players beginning of the season. You're going to have to bite the bullet. I really want to sell them. I'm going to make a lot of money, but it's going to impact the season.
Well, we need to shift to our final question for the evening and final little rumor tidbit. A lot of great comments tonight. I mean, so many. I wish we could get to them all. So keep them coming. And Hoach just said Michelle had a Tinder profile that got spotted in the wild with some shirtless photos, and maybe that was where that particularly notorious story came from. But one more question, of course, is Coach Watch, and we've already been touching upon this several times. And the question is, have we seen promise from Marco? And look, a clean sheet at home compared to how this team has done in past 8 weeks or so, it is good. I mean, that's fine. And we saw Hedges. We touched upon that, and the team, managed a clean sheet. You always like that in the game of soccer. But we also have this interesting tweet. Jose shared it to our Big D Slack channel of Paco Jimenez, a coach, a well-traveled coach with a lot of experience in Spain, and coached was head coach of Cruz Azul in Mexico, and is a potential name to be in the mix here. Of course, the tweet mentions several openings: Vancouver, Cincinnati, Chicago, Salt Lake, as well as Dallas, but that there's a lot of fit with his coaching philosophy with Dallas. As far as we know, no Hunt connection, no actual smoke to this rumor yet, but an interesting guy with some experience. So first of our coaching rumors that we may
the first managerial rumor, and I like what I'm hearing about the guy. He's accused of being too aggressive, being an attacking-minded manager who presses too much, leaves himself team open for the counters and whatnot. But I was looking up at the tactics that this guy employed in his last managerial stint at Rayo Vallecano, who he led to promotion, by the way, from the second division in Spain up to La Liga. And he's a player. He's a manager who likes to bottle up the center and likes to attack on the wings. Having his wingers attack and having his fullbacks push forward, which we're very familiar. Also, not afraid to. Also has some of the play it out from the back, although not as hardcore as Lucci does it. His teams are known for high possession, ultra aggressive. I believe his biggest criticisms was defense, because his teams are known to be overly aggressive. And with the kind of talent that FC Dallas has, young talent coming up, you love to hear this. The guy is known for entertaining soccer, and he has a manager who has a history of a kind of manager you bring in to help your team get promoted, to the next level. So clearly a manager who's brought in is seen as a fixer, which, by the way, with Cruz Azul, he actually led them to the playoffs in his second season that he was there.
Well, Christian Lozano says, and then led to relegation after, don't forget. Now, I think that he does have a history of that. His teams make their way up, but I think that's also common with relegation battle teams. I mean, teams that can fight their way up, but
teams.
Yeah, it's just a struggle.
Teams.
It's a struggle. And Ben says, I really want a manager without a Hunt connection. I even looked up this guy because Jose Martinez was spent a couple of years from 2018 to 2020 at Granada, I think, which is where we signed him from, and Jimenez was at Granada, coached them, but back in 2016. So I thought, well, maybe there's a connection there, but they may know each other. You never know.
Yeah, he didn't coach him, but you've got Acosta has also played in Spain. So Acosta and Jose. So there must be some kind of Spanish connection there.
We'll see.
So yeah, I think there has to be something there, and maybe it's not a Hunt connection. Maybe it's a Sonata connection.
Well, let's good point. And all right, so we'll hopefully touch upon this. We'll close out the show with this question from our buddy Hoach, and we just appreciate everybody watching tonight and keep peppering us with good questions. Does FC Dallas finish last in the West? Our schedule seems unfavorable versus Houston and Austin. What do you all think?
No,
I haven't thought about this yet.
I think
I haven't thought about it. It's
we're
not on my
fortunate
priority.
enough that Austin is there, and I'm fairly certain that FC Dallas is. They're gonna play the Utes, but they should have just enough to not finish, with the spoon in the West, the wooden spoon.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm not looking at the standings. I'm looking at the field, the gameplay, and just seeing, are we doing better? Is Marco making a change?
And I agree. I want to see young players play. If we're eliminated, which we pretty much are, I want to see, Cerrillo, Cervania, Munjoma, Pepi, Shun, Jesus, Paxton. I want to see the young guys. Give me the young guys. I want to see some Tafari out there.
And I want to stay in touch with the media, see what the plan is for next year. I mean, I'm already looking next year. I want to see if we're gonna do something next year or we're gonna be the same.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I think this offseason is going to be massive for FC Dallas, and I want to see the team show that it's massive. If they drag their feet behind the manager, if they we're going to get one of the top picks in the draft, if that's their big selling point, and they're not going to go out and one of our DPs has to go. If you can't get rid of Howard and you're stuck with him for another year, fine. Then get rid of Acosta, or get rid. One of those guys has to go. Bring in someone that's going to make a difference.
Yeah, I look at Pepi and Pereira. Those are our two kids that I hope they stay and get the minutes and become better players and make the U.S. team for the qualifiers or World Cup. And then number two, get rid of the dead weight and bring in some players that can play and want to be here.
Dead weight. And for crying out loud, sign a third DP. I mean, that's
have some competition at right back. Have some competition at keeper. We have a lot of winger. I still think that Paxton is still recovering, and he's not a.
I think we definitely need to add another winger. We know Paxton's not a winger, and even if Vargas is bought, he still has to be seen as a long-term project, just like Shun is a long-term project. These are great guys that you want coming off the bench. Vargas is great for like 10, 20 minutes, but he's poor over, 2/3 of a match, So this is a guy that has super sub written all over him and nothing more.
I think the players that we can say that look good for next year, I look Tafari. He's had a good year. I mean, he'll get one of those starting spots. He's young, fast, and he's made some good passes. He's got some really good through passes.
Yeah, he's going to get better.
We talked about Ferrer and Pepi. O'Brien on the wing. He had a good game, I thought, Saturday in the final third. He had cuts that really – he almost broke people's ankles in those cuts.
You see O'Brien is growing into MLS, and I think he's a player that can build on this season. Yeah. And I think that's good enough for now.
Yeah, I don't look at him as a starter every week, but I think he's someone that can start. But I really hope he's not the starter. I'd like to see him be the second string.
I think O'Brien's your starter. I think he's starting to show that he's going. Like I said, he's starting to figure out MLS, and he's just one of those players that needed a full season under his belt in MLS.
Right back.
I think you'll see a leap next year.
Two players come in to fight for right back.
Yeah. No, but he should definitely have somebody to push him. But hey, you got Metkahar has been tearing it up.
North Texas, yeah, I saw that.
Who, by the way, had a huge road win against Tucson, who was ahead of them in the standings. And as we head down the home stretch, it's basically a bottleneck for like the last 2-3 playoff spots. And North Texas is right in the middle of it. They've got a favorable schedule, not a guarantee that they'll get in, but you're seeing Vargas, El Metkahar, Hernandez, Colin Smith. You're seeing those young players starting to get more minutes with North Texas, and I'm glad that Cervini and Cerrillo are playing. Otherwise, send them down. Get them minutes in North Texas if they're not going to start for FC Dallas.
Well, folks, we got to leave it there. We have so many good questions here about Hara's contract, and Obrian needs to stop flopping. He'll never get any calls. And there was a great question. I think we're going to get to next week. Let's pencil it in, guys. What is life post Pepi? And I think it's already time. It may be time, even if Pepi sticks around for another year, to begin to think about who is that next striker that they're going to start to develop.
Already on the roster.
Yeah. Okay.
Who?
It's Chuy. Chuy It should be your if Pepi. The only reason Chuy's not your center forward is because Pepi's there, and
about
because
Ferreira?
higher money. But once Pepi's gone, Jesus should be your next guy.
But I watch on our little opening intro for the video intro for this podcast. Like, Jesus reminds me a lot of his dad and the way he's growing.
He's not a midfielder.
No, he is a forward, and that's where he should play. He's basically playing out of position and doing good, by the way. But I like to see him as either the primary striker or paired up in a two-striker set. So I think that's your guy. That's your Pepi replacement.
Just one quick comment. Pepi and Ferreira, they're really not surrounded by a lot of great talent right now to take the pressure off of them, and they're still succeeding in MLS. Can you imagine if they were on a team where you had a superstar winger on the left and the right and other players to be worried about? Those guys could make a killing. They really are good players.
That's where your DPs come, and that's what I'm saying is go out and get us those DPs that are going to give teams something to worry about so that our young players don't have the weight of carrying the team.
Well, we need to leave it there, folks. It's been a great show. And, of course, you can follow us and subscribe to us wherever you find podcasts, except Apple Podcasts for some reason. We got to figure that out. And also follow all of our writing and our commentary, bigdsoccer.com. We admit it's been a little quieter lately, and I think people have just been deflated a bit. But look for some more comments about coaching rumors and news and player updates and kind of what the outlook of this season is in the coming week. And, of course, keep enjoying FC Dallas soccer. There's still something to play for, even if it's just to watch Pepi and Ferreira and these kids have some fun out there. Yeah. Jose, Tommy, you're great. Thanks. All right. Good night, everybody.